All right. So, welcome to our video today, our video interview with Mr. Jim Noble. He was in class 31, graduate of Commonwealth Challenge back in December of 2009. So, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about how you ended up at Challenge, Jim.
So about April, it was actually April Fool's Day of all days, April Fool's Day, 2009. I was in my freshman year of high school. I was a bad kid. I was in the wrong crowd. I was selling drugs, and I got kicked out and expelled that day for like an entire year. And about a month later, my dad, being a colonel in the army, decided, well, you're not just going to sit at home for a year. There's a military academy down in, we lived up in Woodbridge, Virginia at the time. And he said, there's a military academy in Virginia Beach and it starts in July. So 3 months later, I'm at the Commonwealth Challenge of Virginia.
Right on. So we call that, we have students that come to the program and we either tell them you can either volunteer to volunteer to come to the program, or you can be voluntold. So you were apparently one of those that was voluntold.
Yes, I was definitely voluntold.
Okay. So what was your, you already talked about some of the things that led you up to coming to Challenge, but what were some of the things that you learned while you were at Challenge? Something that you learned?
Oh, I learned so much. I mean, discipline being number one, and all the key values of honor, courage, commitment, and just doing the right thing at the right time, even when no one's watching you. That's integrity is a really big thing that I also learned. And, also, teamwork, getting along with everybody, because you have all sorts of people that come in from all over the state that you don't even know and you might not even get along with. But after, 6 months of being there, you get used to them, and, you become this hardened team after that time.
Yeah, teamwork is especially important, and like we say, one of the things is getting along with everyone else. That's during those first 2 weeks of acclimation. That's where we want them to start to work together as a team and gel together. What was the hardest part for you about coming to Challenge, you think?
The hardest part was really all the physical training. Like at first, the first 2 weeks, at the time when I was in, they called it Hell Week, and just I'm a short guy, so I was probably the shortest guy in the platoon, and so I was always volunteered for a lot of the crazy workouts, and I was always the first one to lead and help everyone out, and that took some time getting used to. And I was always in the front because they do the height line of when we march. So being the shortest, I was usually right up at the front.
Gotcha. Okay. So some of the experiences that you had at Challenge led you to your goals after Challenge and the things that you've done since then. So tell us a little bit about how your path has been since you left Challenge and the things that you've used.
Since I left Challenge, the first thing I did was I got my GED when I graduated Challenge. So I went to community college because at the time, to join the military, you had to have 15 college credits. So I went to community college and got the easiest credits I could get, like taking theater and arts and like music theory 101, stuff like that, just to get the credits so I can, at the time I wanted to join the Army, but then I realized, maybe that's not the right choice for me. Maybe I should go Navy, because in the Navy, you're guaranteed 3 meals a day and you always got a place to sleep. So that's what led me to joining the Navy. And what was really one thing that I brought with me when I was from Challenge to the Navy was going through Challenge at the time that I was in was very physical, a lot of physical training. So when I was going through boot camp, that was like the biggest cakewalk to me. Like seeing all these kids out of high school, struggling. And for me, it was just like, this is nothing. I used to do worse things back at the school I used to go to, So that was kind of helpful. And of course, all the discipline and, all the military guidelines, I basically knew just about all of that by the time I was in the Navy. And afterwards, I got honorably discharged after my enlistment. And I used, my discipline and my skills that I learned to create my own company, Totally Rad Comics. And, from a business standpoint of view, I had to make sure, always hit the deadlines when you say you're going to hit the deadlines. You know, you got a lot of people depending on what you're putting out. So you want to make sure if it's not, you know, another thing I learned was if you're not early, you're late. If you're not early, you're late. If you're on time, you're definitely late. So I always, you know, I either try to strive to have it early or have it just about on time. You know, sometimes it's with the way the world is now, there's some things that do come up, but I try to keep it as professional as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. Awesome. Well, one of the things that my boss always said, it's no longer about I, me. It's about the team. And that's something that you learned basically at Challenge, took that into the Navy, and now you're using that in, you know, running your own business and kind of being a freelance. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I would say freelance. And also, I mean, I do own a business license, so I'm technically a business in the state of Texas. So
okay, awesome. Yeah, and so tell us a little bit more about what you do in your job, in like what you do in comics.
So in comics, so it's divided into two things. So I have a day job, and I have the job that my business that I do. And business is full time all the time, weekends, you know, nights, days, mornings. My day job, I work from 5:30 to 1:30 in the afternoon. Basically, what I do on my day job is I grade comic books professionally as a comic book grader. And essentially what that means is I don't grade the story like, oh, well, Batman wasn't doing this, so I'm just going to give it a 5. It's more of, I graded on, okay, there's a crease on the top right corner, so that's going to get, you know, taken down to a 0.5. So it'd be like a 8.5 as opposed to the high grade of like a 9.8. And essentially, basically what I'm doing is ensuring the value of the comic book. I'm appraising the value of the comic book. So when people say, oh, this is a certified 9.8, that's worth $1,000, as opposed to this is a certified 9.6, which is only $600.
Gotcha. And so what I was leading into that is one of the things that we teach at Challenge is attention to detail, right? You learned that at Challenge, you learned that in the Navy. So attention to detail. And, you know, I think it's great to get your story out there because a lot of students that come through, a lot of cadets that come through Challenge have like big hopes and dreams of things that they want to do. And I like to see that you took something that was a dream of yours and turned it into a job. You know, that's awesome. And that's, I think, important for people to hear that, you know, it doesn't matter what your dreams are, you should follow those and eventually try to change that into something where it can actually help, you know, make a living for you. You know, that's awesome.
Right. It's a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work.
Yeah, for sure. Everything is, you know, everything that's worth having is, I believe that. So tell us, we'll wrap this up here in just a second, but I just wanted to say, what advice would you have for a student or a parent that's considering sending their student to the Challenge program, or a prospective student coming to the program? What advice would you give them?
The advice I give is be very open-minded, because you're going to be told a lot of things you might not like. But in the end, like, you get a lot of skills that, you know, I haven't been in Challenge in 10 years. To this day, I still use the skills that I learned on a daily basis.
Yeah. What about somebody who's having like fear and anxiety about coming to Challenge? You know, I always say it's the fear of the unknown, but what would you say to them?
I'd say, you know, if you could push past that fear, just give it, test it out. Because sometimes you might not be the right fit for it, and that's okay. You know, it's not a bad thing to say, okay, I tried it and it didn't work out. But as long as you try, because I'm telling you right now, the people that you're there with, they're there for almost essentially the same reason you're there, and you might make some of the greatest friendships that you'll have for years to come. I know I have made those friendships, and I still to this day talk to a handful of people that I met at the Challenge program. So, you know, you'll get a really amazing bond with some really amazing people in the end.
Awesome. All right. Well, do you have any last minute words you want to say, or?
You know, just keep doing what you can. You know, don't let the virus bring you down, and don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do what you want to do. You know, just be yourself, but also, you know, think of the team as well. But always, you know, strive, you know, go for your dreams, and never say never.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, which I'm sure it is, your busy schedule to come on and talk to us and share a little bit about your story. It's always great to hear, from our former cadets and graduates and how they're doing. And that's exciting. It's exciting for me because I like to see that transformation. I didn't know you before you went to Challenge, but now I like to see the transformation of the cadets when they start the program to the end. It's amazing that transformation that Challenge does and all the hard work that the staff do at Challenge. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.